has pulled out of the Frank Sanchez IBF title eliminator. The purse bid was prolonged, and when that happened, I did get suspicious. I got very suspicious, but he's pulled out. He no longer wants to fight Frank Sanchez. Instead, his reasoning for pulling out is to eye a fight with Fabio Wardley. And let me counterpunch. First off, Daniel Dubois has options. And I think he's going for the biggest payday. You know, this is no surprise by now, because, you know, he pulled out of the Joseph Parker fight, dangerous fight. Now, you know, to get a bigger fight, which was the Usyk fight, which we all know what happened with that. Now, he's pulling out of the Frank Sanchez fight to get what? A bigger fight against what? Another champion. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me about Daniel Dubois. He has options. I think at the end of the day, Daniel Dubois wants to be a two-time, or at this point, it's a three-time champion, the WBA regular, the IBF, and now he's eyeing the WBO. And to say the least, I think Daniel Dubois is making a smart move, or his people are. Because fighting Frank Sanchez, I think another loss for him. You think about it, the two losses to Usyk, the loss to Joe Joyce, that puts him at 4 losses. I think that's the last draw, and I think that is detrimental to his resume and his career. So if he lost to Frank Sanchez and Frank Sanchez lost to Caballero, you know, it would put him in a situation where he would lose stock. And I think because of that, they didn't want to risk it. Now, I feel bad for Frank, because Frank Sanchez needs a damn fight. So we don't know if the next in line, I don't know who that is at this point because I haven't checked the rankings in a while. But the next in line, who knows who that will be? You know what I mean? But what does it say about Frank? It shows us that Frank is building a reputation. He's building a reputation of being avoided. He is like, to me now, he's looking like the next Luis Ortiz, because that's exactly his position back in the day. Luis Ortiz was avoided on all cylinders. You know, when guys wanted to fight him, you know, they tried that one time or whatever. They didn't keep revisiting, or they didn't really follow up with that particular fight because they know Luis Ortiz was dangerous. Well, we all know that about Frank. Frank has that great Cuban pedigree. He's fast. He's quick. He's knowledgeable. You know, would that be a winnable fight for Daniel Dubois? It would have been. But Daniel knows a fight like that, he could lose, but he could win, right? But so it's a 50-50 in his chance. And I do think, if anything at all, Daniel Dubois has made a more lucrative decision, just like he's done before. So it's basically the repeat on the handlers. So I think that's all about Frank. I don't think Daniel Dubois made that call. I think it was Frank with Daniel's people. Therefore, that's what Daniel's going to do. You know, but it only shows you how risky Frank Sanchez is. So maybe Frank is too good for his own good. I just hope he gets a fight, or I just hope that fight happens, because let's say it doesn't happen. He's done all this for nothing. You've pulled out the IBF. Now, since he's done that, the IBF, you know, he's going to be in bad standings with them. Therefore, you're going, and it doesn't work out, and Fabio decides, I don't want to fight you, then you're going to be without a fight, and then we're going to miss out on 2 fights. You know what I mean? So, but to say the least about Daniel Dubois taking on Fabio Wardley, I do fancy that fight. I think that fight could happen. Again, Daniel Dubois with Frank Warren, he has options, and because he has options, he can do a lot of different things. So fighting Frank Sanchez is not be all and end all. You know what I mean? It just sucks for Frank Sanchez, because I know he needs a fight, because this is like the 2nd or 3rd fighter that has walked away from that opportunity. We had Efe Ajagba, he walked away. Moses Atoma was snatched back from that opportunity. Now we have Daniel Dubois. So yeah, Frank is now becoming Mr. Avoidable. But you guys tell me what you think of Daniel Dubois pulling out of the IBF purse bid to fight Frank Sanchez. In fact, instead fighting Fabio Wardley as a target fight, for the WBO strap. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.